What up YouTube? Today I'm not going to be showing you a video of how to do inception style photos because there's already a million videos out there that show you how to do it. Instead, I'm going to be sharing with you from my experience 3 hacks that I've learned that get you awesome inception style photos. You're going to end up with photos that are much easier to manipulate and are significantly going to cut down the amount of hours that you spend editing the photo, and it's also going to result in much more visually appealing inception style photos. So let's get into it. So here's an example inception style photo that I've pieced together from 4 originals taken with the DJI Mavic Pro. Now there's a few things that aren't ideal in this final product, but I've done that on purpose. So let's start off by pointing them out with hack number 1. And hack number 1 is to make sure that you take the photos at the correct height and angle. It's very important to get this right, so I'll slide this across and I'll show you the original 4 photos that I used to make the final product and stitch them together. The 2 photos on the right have been taken at an acceptable height and angle, but the 2 on the left, however, have not. You can see on the bottom photo that it was taken with the camera facing too far down instead of facing out towards the road ahead, and it was also too high off the ground. Now, if it was taken lower to the ground with the camera facing out, then the road would have been wider across the bottom of the shot. Now what this means is that on the final product, the road would have started really wide at the bottom and it would have accentuated that inception style shot as it came narrowing into the other photos. But because it was taken wrong, the road wasn't very wide to begin with, and therefore it really doesn't narrow much at all along the length of the photo, and the effect isn't as striking. Now the other photo on the left was taken at the right height luckily, however the camera angle was not positioned correctly. Ideally, the camera should have been facing down more. Instead, it was taken at a similar angle to the photo before it, so the perspective is warped in the final product, and the road doesn't really narrow down towards the end. Instead, it pretty much stays the same width between the top and about a third of the way down. Again, this has minimized the impact that the final inception style photo should have had. So ideally, what you want to be doing is taking the first photo around 10 meters above the ground and looking flat straight out, the second photo about 30 meters high with a 20-degree angle, the third photo about 60 meters high with a 45-degree angle, and the last photo would be 120 meters high, so as high as you can get it, with a 90-degree angle looking straight down. And if you're unsure while taking it, use the information on your drone's remote to help you find out these details while you're there. If you can get these angles and heights right, you'll end up saving a significant amount of time trying to correct the issue, and your final product will give you much more of that wow factor that you're after. Now moving on, we're looking at hack number 2, and that's to make sure that you lock your camera settings into manual mode. A great example of what I'm talking about is the first and third photo as shown here. They were both taken on the same day and within minutes of each other, but one is significantly lighter than the other. The reason for this is that the camera was set to auto settings, and so as the camera moved from one height to the other, it adjusted the ISO and shutter speed accordingly to what the camera thought was correct, but it resulted in it letting more light in and making 2 photos with different amounts of light. Now it's not going to break your final product if you forget to do this, but again, it's going to take up a lot of your time having to correct the colors in the photo to match the others. So if you can set the camera on the drone to manual to start off with, then you'll save a stack of time not having to do unnecessary edits. And lastly, hack number 3 is to include a subject. In this photo, there really isn't a subject to draw the eye to. The closest thing would be the car at the top, but it's very small and is a similar size to mostly everything else. Now I've discussed it before in the previous video linked above, and I'm going to say it again. Including a subject is very important and it gives the viewer a sense of a story. Now if for example the first photo at the bottom was taken correctly, looking straight out like we've already said in hack number 1, and let's say maybe there was a car in front or a person looking out to the road ahead, then it would have made this photo 100 times more amazing because it would have given the viewer something to look at and it would have kind of implanted some sort of a story in their mind. And a bonus hack for the viewers still watching the video, if you're unsure on what kind of setting will be easiest to make these photos with, nature-like photos like this are easy. Trees and grass are easy to manipulate in Photoshop, but small little details like power lines in this photo, for example, can be a real pain in the backside. And if you look carefully, they haven't really been finished off. And that's because my wife is the talented one in this couple when it comes to photo editing. And after a couple hours of fixing this photo, she said to me, it's just not worth fixing the power lines for the amount of time more it will take to get it right and how much you'll wreck the photo and skew out other portions of it. So if you're trying it for the first time, try not to do anything with little details or big crowds or big buildings. Try and find somewhere open and wide with mostly just grass and trees to give it your first shot, and really give it a good trial out before you try something bigger and more complex. Now, once you've watched the video and you've gone out there and you've made your Inception style photo, don't forget to come back to this video and leave a comment below with a link to what you've created so we can all share our hard work and I can check it out and I can leave some comments and just be happy that the video I've made has actually really helped someone. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because then my channel will show up in your list of channels and it'll be much easier for you to find me when you come back to leave that comment. So go out there, make that photo, and happy flying.